All right, so guys, we need to do a recap of yesterday. So I downloaded the video. We're going to have to jump around a little bit here. So please bear with me. But we got raided yesterday and our account changed quite a bit. So I think it was about here. I think I was looking through items.
That's a huge element.
How do I get myself to stop talking? All right, so yeah. So this is where yesterday we were streaming, and for like the first hour and a half, I had just done a whole bunch of Gear Raid 3, right? I just farmed up a crap ton of Gear Raid 3. We were looking through items. We're not doing anything too amazing, too impressive here, and then we get raided, and more specifically, we get raided by one of the bigger names in the community. Now I'm pissed off about Gear Raid 1. Hell Hades and community welcome. For those of you who do not know me, I am Sprinklebeard. I focus primarily on... So yeah, we get raided by Hell Hades of all people, right? Dude comes in with a huge community of like 130 players that come in. They're all friendly. They're all being nice, all chill, let me kind of do my thing. And, you know, I was not prepared for such a large community yesterday. So it was a fun little day. So then, as you can see here, I'm looking in the shop. And what happened is one of the viewers decides, he's like, hey, you should pull a whole bunch of shit. And I'm like, I don't really need anything. I don't really want anything on my account. Like, I could use a mage, right? Like, if I could pull a Vierna or Morrigan, that would be great. But we're not, you know, there's no way to control that, right? And then even worse is that, like, today specifically, there's Constance and Allura. I don't really need Constance and or Allura. Like, Constance would be cool, but I have Dolores, right? So I don't really need Constance. It would just be a cool thing to have on the account. Allura, same thing. I don't really need Allura at all. But, Alara. But I'd be happy if I got her, right? And this dude decides to forcibly be like, no, I said you're pulling shit. So we started looking here at Lunaria because it says each stack increases the marked target's damage taken by 5%. So 5 times 5 would be 25%. And I'm like, ooh, would this work out? So I'm like distracted. I'm not really paying attention to dude who says, no, you're forcibly going to pull shit. And I am paying attention to like Lunaria, and trying to figure out, does Lunaria cause the target to take damage from all sources? The answer is no. This only applies to Lunaria. So Lunaria can stack up her damage up to 25% extra damage on a target as long as she's Dark Moon arrowing. So really cool. So dude then gifts us. So here in the upper right, you can see I have 0. Like, he's really being like, nah, man, you're buying shit. And then moments later here, you can see he has gifted us 25,000 in W card points. I don't know the transactional thing of it, right? So let's do an account update. We're going to start down at our epics. So ultimately, the deal that he had with me was he would buy something, buy some junk for me, and in return, I would just pull pretty much everything that I possibly could, right? So we did end up getting 2 Theo wins in total. This was kind of bad because I already had Theo wins and didn't need Theo wins. However, one of the Theo wins turned into something else, and I will get to that later. I did the smart thing and was like, yo, Iona's only $5 and I need an AoE mage. So we got Iona on the account for $5. That felt really good. And she looks great, right? Her holding these black holes has always been a super badass thing. She's a really cool design champion. So very happy about that.
Locked and loaded.
Ended up pulling a Brunor. Brunor, again, I'm very excited about because long-range archer, very good range on what he has. So there's going to be certain levels where that coverage is going to be very valuable. And then also for like my evaluate the epics, a lot of these champions are now literally just going to be cool. My evaluate the epics series is going to continue on.
Just in time.
I pulled an Aveline. I like Aveline. I know that she is not necessarily one of the most popular champions. I think in terms of Centaurs, she looks good, right? Like, there's not too much that looks, like, bad about her. Now, her being a defender, I will say I kind of do wish that they had made her a little bit bulkier looking or maybe some more heavy armor. But the shield hunt, honestly, really does bring home that defender aspect, so I don't mind it so much. I do like Aveline because Aveline, once you promote her, she can block 4. And it's not like an unconditional 4. It's just, cool, you promoted me, I now block 4. Just like Janquar. I finally got Janquar on this account, so I am super ecstatic. I do have a deal made with the dude. We're gonna call him Venom for the rest of the stream. I don't want to use his full name just in case, like, if he goes around into other streams. I don't want him, like, wanting to go into a stream to hang out and then people expecting him to drop some big bombs like he did for us. It was really awesome of him. So Venom, if you're watching this video, thank you very much. Hell Hades, thank you for bringing your community because this was a hilarious moment for us. But I got Janquar and I'm super pumped. Janquar is one of my favorite champions. He's got a major, amazing synergy, and the huge thing that I want from him is that when he blocks targets, he curses them. As he curses targets, he now causes those targets to take an additional 30% magic damage. Now, I ended up getting another champion that is going to do something similar without the blocking. So I do have a small problem. I'm going to have to test out 2 champions back to back or side by side. What's fantastic, though, is these 2 champions synergize with each other. So it's not even that big of a deal, but they do the same thing effectively. So, big changes here. We ended up getting Maul, and we ended up getting an extra copy of Maul eventually. So we were able to awaken him once, which absolutely feels amazing. I absolutely love Maul, and then most importantly, Maul's an epic that can bring a defense down, and as I skill him up, the defense down increases to 15% in total. And there's going to be a lot of levels where that is incredibly useful, or it now lets me work on some physical comps instead of just magic comps. Ever since I got Comet, I've been kind of locked into magic comps, and I've been missing a critical piece like Janquar. I literally yesterday was pulling so many champions that I ended up getting one of each of what I really wanted or needed. So super pumped about that. I got Scorch. Now, I'm really, really excited about Scorch. Admittedly, though, I have gotten Scorch kind of too late. Right now, there's not a whole lot of reason that I need Scorch. I still want to, I'm still going to build him up and test him out a bit. And, like, for, like, the AoE arena, I do think he's extremely valuable there. So I might try to mess with him in there. However, again, for the AoE arena, we also got some other things that are, like, better or more consistent. So, unfortunately, our account's in a very big mess right now.
Even I am pumped.
We got an extra copy of Diamond. Now, I like Diamond or Damon, for those of you who cannot stand the AE pronunciation. Whatever you call him. I got a copy of him. I do like him, and I like the fact that he's a grenade champion. For Gear Raid 2, I got hard stuck on Gear Raid 219 for a very long time, and I was getting pissed. Like, truly, truly pissed. I will say, I do think Diamond, with his ability, like, fast revival, and, like, the fact that he is a grenade, like, you summon him, and he deals a whole bunch of damage, I will argue, I think he's got a very good place in Gear Raid 2. I would need to, like, 5-star or 6-star him to fully test this out. But if you're somebody who likes Damon Diamond, There's some good usage to him. He's somebody I'm more excited about the more I see him. So I had pulled one holo on my account before Venom came in and stirred the pot. Venom caused me to pull another 4 copies of her. So I went from having a single holo on my account to a 4-star awakened holo. And I've kind of agreed that if I get an awakening stone, I have one sitting in my tide, that I will use it on her. Holo is a top rated healer / support champion. She provides rage regen, and specifically at A5, you get these stacking benefits that the more she ults, the more rage is accrued by everybody. So I'm slightly excited for her. I say slightly because I've gotten very accustomed to my Nisande. My Nisande does single target healing with her ult. She does AoE healing with her Orb of Euphoria. She's increasing attack speed. With her passive, Mania, she's giving everybody attack speed. And then if I get her up a little bit more, like one of her awakenings is just, she gives everybody attack speed by being summoned. So Nisande is kind of some big boots to fill. Now, everybody's kind of telling me, I get that you like the attack speed, but Holo's Rage Regen is going to let you hit more ultimates more frequently. And you hitting more ults more frequently is going to be higher damage. And I hate to admit, I do agree with that I do think I'm at the point where I need to be just kind of constantly dropping ultimates for this endgame content. I am officially endgame, whether or not I want to admit it. I'm officially endgame. I do need to start work on the consistency of my account. And one of the big consistent strategies is 100% ult time. So
I know my
at the start of the weekend, I had pulled a Dallin, who I was really excited about because Dallin has the highest cost regen in the game. So as you summon her, every 25 seconds, she regenerates you cost. And when you fully skill her up, which we got all the skills in the right place, it turns out to be the most per minute. So she's absolutely amazing. Again, because of Venom, we ended up pulling an extra 5 copies of her. So one of the biggest notes for me that I'm excited about is that it did give her a cost reduction. So now instead of her being 11, she's 10, which just makes her that slightly more valuable. It means I can get her out a little bit earlier, or in the levels where I have to like summon out a damage dealer and then I can summon her out. Me summoning her out second or third really isn't that big of a deal. And there are certain levels I do that. It's not a constant thing. Other than that, her awakenings are not something I really needed. And because her specific cost regen is unlike Narvi, it is not linked to her rage. It's just on this timer of 25 seconds. You can quite honestly build her in any way, shape, manner that you feel. It does not matter. You can build her pure tank, pure offense. There's not really a support build in this game, but you could build her in any manner that you choose. But because her cost regen is timer based, which is also very effective, it means you can throw her in a corner and forget about her. Kind of how I always argued with Rutu, that you just summon him and he will do his own thing. But Narvi and Rutu, it was their ultimates that gave back the cost regen. Here, she does not. She doesn't need it. She gets an attack steroid and crit damage steroid for ulting her. So she can be good for knocking out like the first 1 or 2 enemies. So I'm probably going to build her like damage. But the reason I use those air quotes, she's at the bottom of my laundry list. She's going to get some very sloppy second gear. And hopefully hold the line until I get some big boys out. Next, we got a copy of Isolde. This was very meaningful for me because I do like the Lords and I'm trying to collect more of the Lords. That way for at least each faction, I'm not like caught with my pants down. The other thing that I was hoping to get yesterday between Lords was also Chaos Champions. So for those of you who weren't here, the Venom who showed up, he was like, you can buy whatever you want. However, please have it be shards, right? Like, I get if you're going to buy, like, this privilege card, like, that could be helpful, blah, blah, blah. But, like, please buy shards so that we can pull shards together and have this, like, really cool event. So, I, however, prefer ancient shards. Ancient shards have a higher chance of you getting lords, and then certain other hard-to-get champions, like Chaos champions, or there's a few legendary champions that I'm actually not sure if they're in the regular pool. They might only be in the ancient pool. We'll look into that later after the recap here of what champions I was kind of hoping for. Like, you know, back of my mind, like, please let me pull that champion. It would be so awesome. And really fun stream to pull that champion. But we pulled Isolde. I like Isolde. She's got some cool things. She's a tank, all about helping other players tank. So her ultimate gives physical and magic reduction. Her Lord skill applies shields to everybody. So wasn't too unhappy about getting an extra copy of her. It is slightly unfortunate that I already had a copy of her. Nazim, I forget if we got 2 copies of Nazim or 3. I think we might have pulled one of him very early. And then I think we pulled 2 more copies of him later. Now, Nazim is somebody I am a little unhappy about. He is a champion. I am struggling to think of where he would be best at. Right now, it's one of those things because of his short range and the low damage on his A1. I would argue that he's kind of best used for his ultimate just to heal somebody else up, which is a hard thing to be like, yes, you absolutely like want this this champion out. At the moment, I will say this is one of the biggest champions that needs a rework. This is a champion that needs to be revisited. And I don't know if he got like nerfed right before release. Maybe he was way too powerful. And that's why like his ultimate timer is one of the longest in the game, even over a lot of legendaries. But then his basic attack got neutered down to 50. And what's funny is, like, to me, this could be an easy fix. If you made his basic attack an enemy 2 times, probably wouldn't be as noticeable, right? Probably wouldn't feel as terrible. Like, to have him, like, swing his sword twice, or I think he has his sword behind his back the entire time he's attacking, and he's spell slinging. But yeah, we got some extra copies of Nazim. So if Nazim ever gets reworked, we got 3 copies into him. Got an extra copy of Luneria. Now, Luneria, I'm getting more and more interested. The further into the game I'm getting, I have a higher need for single target damage. What's a little weird about Luneria, so her attributes say that she is a single target magic marksman. Now, this is a little deceptive. From what I could tell about her damage, she is still a marksman. She is still a physical damage dealer. However, whenever she uses this Dark Moon arrow, the Dark Moon arrow is magic damage. So I would argue that she's a mixed damage dealer. Although here it does say magic damage. That's weird. The reason I say this is weird is that when you use her in content with flying enemies, she's still putting out decent numbers. For enemies that are supposed to be magically resistant, she's still putting out like 10k an arrow. Yes, it's not the 30k that my Idril is, but my Idril is also 6-star. Not level 40, not 5-star. So Luneria is getting more and more interesting, and I was planning on throwing her on my dragon team, but as we scroll up, we're going to see why, unfortunately, she's not going to be on the dragon team anymore. We got an extra copy of Harpin. Harpin isn't terribly what I needed, but what's funny is that for my northern faction, I had Voroth as my like one and only damage dealer, and then getting a copy of Harpun was nice because any extra damage to Harpun at rank 5 here means that my northern tribe is not like as diminished as they have been, right? I got some extra copies of Soleil, and I'm not unhappy about that. Soleil's somebody I'm interested in messing around with. My Infernal faction could use some love. So I think I had 1 copy of her. I believe I already had the Vibrant Flame cooldown unlocked. That's her ultimate. So here she got extra damage and then got extra attack speed, which I find very incredible. This, I think, is really good game design. Please more of this, game, Watcher of Realms. If you're watching this, this is amazing. We got an extra copy of Ein. Ein is somebody who I'm low-key in the back of my mind being like, I do want to promote him. I do want to get him up. His next awakening specifically is during his ultimate. The first basic attack by an ally in range will inflict stun on the enemy. I think that's pretty freaking cool. And Ein has synergy for attacking stun targets. So Ein helps facilitate himself, which I love. I absolutely love. Like, that is really, really cool game design. I love it. I'm really excited for Ein. I got a couple of copies of Novris. I think, again, my Novris was at A1. So I got an extra 15% crit damage, which feels amazing. And now his Stroll minion explodes for a much larger radius. So he's in an amazing spot. Sulky was at A3, where his enchanted bubble, he has a chance to fire in an extra one. Well, now he gets extra damage here, as well as his enchanted bubble can now bounce to an additional target. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Sulky is just somebody I have a special place in my heart for. We got an extra copy of Livian, so that felt good. Ironically enough, Azoth keeps dodging bullets. We still haven't gotten any extra copies of Azoth. We did get a copy of Komodo, and we ended up selling that copy of Komodo. And the reason is, I don't have a good use for Komodo at the moment. Right now, he's kind of sits on the bench, just keeps it warm. So we took that copy of Komodo and we sold it. I will get into why we sold it in a moment here. We did get an extra copy or 2 copies of Osiren. I think we got 1 copy of Osiren. So now his cost went down. This is definitely going to help my Gear Raid 1 a whole lot whenever I get back to doing Gear Raid 1, which has been very frustrating for me. Getting him out a little bit earlier could be the difference between whether or not I beat it. All right, we're finally getting to the top here. All right, so we're going to have to show off somebody. Idril, we did finally take to A5. Idril, we got 1 copy of, and we took her to A4, so she got extra attack speed. And then that copy of Komodo we sold to the Awakening shop was so that we could buy an Idril Awakening Stone to take her up to 5. And then, no lie, 3 hours later, I pulled an extra copy of Idril. So, unfortunately... So, what's great is, Idril's now A5. Idril's A5. She feels absolutely brilliant. The extra Awakening is kind of crazy. The extra time she gets on her ultimate is absolutely phenomenal. Whenever she kills a target, she gets an extra 3 seconds. It's super meaningful. So now, let's talk about why things got real crazy. So far, I've only talked about the epics that we've pulled. And again, I got a whole lot of ancient shards. I got a bunch of legendary shards. And myself and Venom eventually made a deal where he was like, you got to pull everything on your account. So, like, every shard, every diamond that you have, you need to drain it, right? So I went through on the deal.
I will rid these waters of impurities.
So we got a Rozek, and I'm super pumped about Rozek. Okay, game. Thanks, game. I'm trying to be all secretive about this, and you're jumping the gun. I got Rozek, and I'm super pumped about him. He's an AoE archer. He's absolutely something that we've needed for Gear Raid 3. Our Gear Raid 3 is at 319, so it's not like I'm in desperate need of him. However, he certainly will help with the damage. He looks badass. I love the fact that he's got a harpoon. So, like, archers only being crossbow champions or bow and arrow champions, I do like the concept of throwing harpoons or throwing daggers. I think it's a really nice little spin on piercers, right? So we got Rozek. He looks amazing. He gives me extra experience. I'm pumped.
An end to destruction.
Arrows for my foes.
We did get the new champion, Allura, and on top of it, she has been awoken once. So, ironically enough, this is a champion I didn't want or need. However, pretty excited about her. She's kind of a standalone champion where she's kind of meant to be off on her own. And I know that there's going to be like levels in the Void that's super useful. And there's certain levels like in like Gear Raid 3 that's going to be super useful. I haven't thought of exactly where I need her yet, because right now I do kind of condense all my champions together, but I can always unsummon somebody, so it's not a big deal, or I can potentially move somebody to a different place for her to get the most of her kit. The other nice thing is that the damage that she provides, so if I go from Idril here, who's at 3199, which normally is about 3,000, it's usually 3,000. Alora here is like 3,600 when fully upgraded. So that's a 600 damage boost at minimum. And then with all the scaling and whatnot that she gets, and some of the higher damage values on her attacks, really pumped about that. So earlier I said Northerners. I had nothing for my North. We ended up pulling Nocturne, who looks really cool. So actually real quick here, we'll go ahead and watch the video.
You are destined to walk this path. It is true. You are nothing but pawns in the hands of fate. But I, unlike you, am not. The world is consumed by chaos. I will get my redemption.
So admittedly, kind of a cool video. I don't love the voice for him, but I think that's just a personal thing. Him in this dark Raven outfit, I do kind of wish the voice was maybe grittier or angrier or something. But it is a cool video. The voice actor, I don't think, does a bad job at all. It's just not the voice I was hoping for, right? He looks really cool, though. I absolutely love Nocturne conceptually. He is a single target magic damage dealer that deals true damage. So pretty crazy going on here. Next, we also got Shamir, and I'm really excited about this. Pano, you specifically, sir, have a Shamir, correct? So I'm really excited that I'm going to be able to throw him in some good gear and see exactly what you're talking about, or being able to give you maybe better advice on him. Find out what works, what doesn't. I do plan to kind of shortcut the process a little bit and put him in some of my best gear to see how his damage numbers are first, and then kind of go from there. But I'm really excited. He's a champion who I think is really interesting, and he's single target, and a lot of my single target arena has been struggling. So Shamir specifically, I'm super pumped for. Huh, I wonder why it's not showing their factions anymore. Weird. Weird. I wonder why it's not showing factions. We got an extra copy of Azor, so pretty pumped about that. But guys, earlier, I mentioned my Gear Raid 1.
The dragon has awakened.
We got fucking Ajax. So Venom, again, if you're watching this video, thank you very much for your contributions to the stream. Let's watch this Ajax video, because this is, I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's funny because, like, in the video, it goes from, like, you know, him being this big scary dragon to being like, hey, this would be a really cool model on your desk. I am not really obsessed with dragons. I do love this specific dragon, though, right? The black scales, the menacing look, the 6 eyes, everything about this specific dragon I like. Admittedly, I do think Ajax is the rider, though. He's not the actual dragon. So let's get into that video for Ajax. They did such a good job on the visual effects for this. But this is a model I want on my desk. Again, I'm not huge into dragons. This is one where I'd be like, oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Like, it looks real good. The fire effects look great. The lighting from the fire looks phenomenal. I will say, though, so, like, getting really excited about Ajax the Dragon's Bane, him being this dragon rider, and I get that the concept is supposed to be about Ajax. I kind of wish that they had gone one way or the other. I wish that they either made him a dragon rider and the whole, like, everything that happens in combat is based upon him, the dragon rider, or they doubled down on, no, he's just a dude riding a dragon and the dragon's doing all the work. They kind of did go 50-50 on it. So it's this fire-breathing dragon, and every once in a while, Ajax does lightning damage on top of it. I'm super pumped, though, because not only is this what I needed for my Gear Raid 1, but Dragon's Might, any enemy within 2 tiles of this hero, gets infected with a magic resistance reduction. And as I started skilling him up, we've gotten it to minus 20% already. He is absolutely getting all my skill crystals going forward. Really pumped to get up to that minus 30% magic reduction. Is absolutely huge. It's absolutely huge. And what's even better is that I can still play with those vulnerabilities to increase the magic damage that champions are taking, whether or not I want to. So it's pretty crazy. What's really cool too is that faction-wise, he's considered the Untamed, which means that he can pair with any faction. This is probably going to be, if I start reviewing legendaries, the first legendary champion, because thematically, there's a lot of really awesome things in here. And then the fact that he can be part of any faction, I think, is absolutely game-breaking. And it's weird, because there's a couple of players that were like in the chat and they're like, oh, I was kind of underwhelmed by Ajax. I would argue they're using them wrong. They're not looking at all the ridiculous synergies that Ajax brings to the table. Super pumped for Ajax.
Humanity never falls.
We also got Valkyra. Now, for any of you who have been watching the stream long enough, you know that we used to have a stream account and we literally had Azor and Valkyra on that account as well. So full fucking circle, we now have the same champions that our stream account had. Like, our stream account literally only had, I think, Tizira over this new account. Other than that, we have all the same champions. I'm super pumped. Now, earlier I mentioned Janquar being my magic vulnerability. Well, Valkyra is the champion that synergizes with Janquar. Whenever she attacks everything that's straight line, they are going to get a magic vulnerability for 15%. And then should they reach Janquar, or at least this is my ultimate plan, should they reach Janquar, or if I need to put Janquar in a different lane, he's going to provide a 30% magic vulnerability taken. So between Valkyra and Janquar, I've got full coverage of magic vulnerability in multiple places. With Ajax, unfortunately, that's going to be like one side of the map or the other, but it's still really cool. It's still really cool. Something I didn't mention about Ajax here. Ajax's range is really cool, but what I like most about it is that where he sits, he doesn't reach side by side with him. And you don't think that's a big issue, especially with this long-reaching range and it reaching so far outward. The truth of the matter is, it often becomes a problem. There's plenty of times where I put him in a position and sometimes things walk up next to where he is. And it has actually made playing with him a little bit different than like a lot of your other champions in the game that do tag things side by side with them. So if I look here at like Nocturne specifically, Nocturne does hit the squares side by side with him instead of reaching further out. The hilarious moment of the stream was over the weekend. I ended up getting a 1+1 at the beginning of the weekend, and I pulled 2 copies of Brokir, which wasn't what we needed. We already had Brokir. We pulled 2 extra copies of him, and admittedly, I was a little deflated about that because I was like, oh man, it was a 1+1 weekend. I was all excited, and now I got 2 extra copies of Brokir. Well, upon the rest of our pulls, we pulled a 3rd copy of him. So Brokir now is the most awakened champion on the account. He now deserves a lot of respect. So he's starting to get better gear. I'm going to be focusing more on giving him my best of best gear and trying to make him into this like super tank on my account. I've also, I will admit, when I'm ready to start skilling up a tank, which is kind of like the last thing on my mind, he definitely is going to be the first one. Like, it's going to be near Torador might be the only other one, but to be fair, Torador is spirit animal. I'm a Taurus, so Torador being this gigantic evil bull, there would be no passing it up. So if I get Torador, Torador hits the top of the path. Venom also did finally buy us. He also was like, I'm okay with you buying skill crystals. So we did buy 2 epic skill crystals. They were like $5 or something. They were pretty cheap. But that let us get Cerberus to max level. And although I was planning on Nyx to be our next skilled up champion, I think that she will be a huge asset once fully skilled. Unfortunately, there was just no competing with Ajax. Ajax just has too much going on in his kit. And then specifically for my Gear Raid 1, this is going to be a massive game changer. So we fully promoted him up. We've started leveling him up. The reason I haven't started on like a lot of my other champions here, so I have 4 other legendary champions to work on. I have like 5 epic champions to work on. Part of the reason I haven't done that is it will be better during next weekend where there's a leveling up event going on. There is currently a leveling up event, but I don't need to level up right now. The other really funny thing is our Arrival of Heroes. I was in 4th place, I think. I was in like 4th, 5th, maybe. I might have even been in 6th now looking at the score. I think I was only around like 3,600. He skyrocketed me double what anybody else is. So although I don't need these shards, I have 15. I don't really need any more. They're not going to do me any harm for sure. But he, ironically enough, not only forcing me to pull all my shards, ended up getting me an extra skill crystal, potentially. We have 14 more hours for Introvertus to decide whether or not he wants to fight, or Goo Goo Gaga if they want to bring it on. But these dudes are like, probably like, what a fucking whale this Sprinklebeard is from America, having no fucking clue that we basically got paid, forcefully paid to do this. But yeah, there's the update to the account. So again, Hell Hades, thank you very much for the raid. I greatly appreciate you stopping in and hanging out with some new player content. It was really cool to interact with you. I hope your dinner went wonderful. Thank you for bringing your community along with me. Venom, special shout out to you for obviously making me a little bitch for the rest of the night. It was a fun experience. You absolutely drained my account, so now I'm slowly rebuilding. I've got 239 diamonds, so haha, fuck you. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the update on the account. Thank you very much for watching. Evaluate the Epics is going to continue. I need to go record more literally right now. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this content, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button down below. It helps out a whole lot. If you want to join us on stream for the crazy shenanigans or to see if Venom comes in to terrorize me again, join us over at twitch.tv/Sprinklebeard, where I stream every day, Sunday through Wednesday, semi-reliably. Depends on work schedule. Thank you guys very much for watching, but of course, until that next time, ta-ta.